Hello, my friends. Your buddy Phil here, project management trainer and coach. I get a question quite often, and the question is, what should I do as far as taking the CAPM exam? Should I wait until October or should I take the current exam? Let's take a look at the current exam content outline. This is the exam going on right now between May 2022 and October 2022. If you take a look at the content outline at a very high level, what you're going to find is a direct mapping to the PMBOK Guide 6th edition. So let's go to the end of the summary. You can see the last chapter maps to the chapter 13 in the PMBOK Guide. So there are 13 sections, and of course, those map to the PMBOK Guide 6th edition directly. It's very straightforward. Everything they need you to know has been made very clear. Let's take a look. We have the first task, which is Introduction to Project Management. And in this introduction, you're expected to know the 5 process groups, the processes in each process group, the relationships between programs, projects, portfolios, and operation management, typical life cycle, and basic definitions in project management. If you go to chapter 2, you can see that this maps directly to chapter 2 in the PMBOK Guide. See that? So each one of these content outline learning objectives maps to a chapter in the PMBOK Guide. It's very easy for you to study the exam right now. It's very clear cut. See that? This one is all about identifying organizational process assets and enterprise environmental factors. Chapter 3 is all about the role of the project manager and understanding leadership. Number 4 is about integration management. Now, there are some parts of this outline where you are expected to know tools, techniques, inputs, and outputs. So for some, it may seem a little bit laborious, but at the end of the day, it can be done and it's not entirely overbearing. It has a lot more minutia in terms of the ITTOs than the PMP exam, but it's not something that you cannot do. Chapter 5 is about scope management. Chapter 6, schedule management. Chapter 7, cost management. Chapter 8, quality management. Chapter 9, resource management. Chapter 10, project communications management. And again, it follows this overarching model. You have the processes for that knowledge area. You have the inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs across all the processes. You have the key concepts and approaches when it comes to agile and adaptive environments. This is covered in concepts, trends, tailoring, and considerations for agile. And then you have the dimensions of communication, specifically going into that, and identifying communication skills. So the summary, my friends, is this is not insurmountable. If I were you, you wanted to get certified and you had a very tight timeline, you needed to do it maybe sooner than later, just go for it, just take it, right? Risk management, procurement management, stakeholder management, just maps back to the chapters, very clear cut. It's like if you understand these chapters, whether you read the PMBOK Guide or whether you read some other documentation, the bottom line is you are going to come away understanding what you need to for the exam. This is the outline as at today. I want to make it very clear. So I'm going to type on the screen. This is for May 2022 to September 2022, okay? I want to make it crystal clear that I'm not talking about the new exam. This is the current exam, May 2022 to September 2022. So the advantage of taking this particular exam, do that again. Okay. The advantage is a very clear syllabus, very clear syllabus. You can't miss it. It's crystal clear. you know which book to use. If all you did was read the PMBOK guide, you're going to be good. Okay. That's the current exam. For those folks who are thinking of delaying their CAPM as a result of the announcements PMI made, let's go to pmi.org first of all. Let's go to pmi.org and let's go to certifications and CAPM. And let's look for that new content outline. It says here, to learn more about upcoming changes to the CAPM exam, refer to the new exam content outline. Let's click on that. And this is the new content outline. You can see the date is 2022 October. Now, when you get to the outline, you'll see they have made it look a little bit more in terms of format, like the PMP exam content outline. So you've got these domains, 4 domains. The PMP exam has 3 domains, people, process, business. The CAPM exam in October will have 4 domains, project management fundamentals, core concepts, predictive, plan-based methodologies, adaptive frameworks and methodologies, and business analysis frameworks. Now, if you scroll down, what you will immediately notice is there is no correlation between this syllabus and any publication from the PMI. So, no correlation between the syllabus and standard. Any standard at that. Standards are not broken down the way we have the exam broken down. So that in and of itself is unfortunate. It is going to cause a little bit of confusion as people who are new to the topic try to make sense of it by picking up various PMBOK guide editions. So it reads, Project Management Fundamentals and Core Concepts. The 7th edition, though it has some core concepts, does not go down to the lower levels enough to really explain these concepts, in my opinion, at the beginner level. The 6th edition does. That's one of the downsides. If you're going to be gearing up for the October exam, you got to use a publication like the 6th edition to really get a firm grasp on these projects, programs, portfolios, operations. And then talking about distinguishing it between predictive and adaptive approaches, the work is not as concise, in my opinion, in the 6th edition, neither the 7th edition. It's almost as though you have to be taught the concepts of what makes predictive predictive and what makes adaptive adaptive. So that's really page 14 in the Agile Practice Guide. Do you see what I'm talking about? Task 2, demonstrate an understanding of project management planning. And planning is big. Planning has a domain in the 7th edition, but again, in my opinion, a lot more could be done with understanding planning from the knowledge area perspective, as opposed to the domain in the 7th edition. Task 3, demonstrate an understanding of project roles and responsibilities. Pretty much the role of the project manager is very clear in the 6th edition in chapter 3. So again, going back and forth between standards is probably what you're going to have to roll with in this new edition. Determine how to follow and execute planned strategies. So this is really more like the executing process group. Number 5, demonstrate an understanding of common problem-solving tools and techniques. These are just everyday project management for someone who has read the 6th edition. Common problem-solving tools are like 8.2 in the 6th edition, where we talk about defining the problem, identifying the root cause, generating alternatives, and things like that. But we can get more specific as far as the actual tools are concerned. Again, it's something you're going to have to dig for. Domain 2 goes into predictive plan-based methodologies specifically. So things like resource management, scope management, basically the knowledge areas, right? Unfortunately, the way it's presented here, it doesn't give a robust enough understanding. It just says, explain when it is appropriate to use a predictive plan-based approach. And then it goes into, as you can see here, applying critical paths, schedule variance, WBS, work packages, quality plan, integration plan, and then talks about artifacts. So there's a lot missing from here. There are 10 knowledge areas, right? Only 4 or so are talked about in this. It's not sufficient, in my opinion, right? As far as giving people a robust idea of what predictive is. This is also a rather scant outline. It could have been done a lot better. So there's some stuff in the narrative that is missing, some stuff that needs to be added to this. Going into adaptive, when it is appropriate to use adaptive, determine how to plan project iterations, determine how to document project controls for an adaptive project. Again, that word, project controls, whoever wrote this is probably not Agile aware enough. It's not a term we would use in the world of Agile. It's poorly worded. And then explain the components of an adaptive plan and determine how to prepare and execute task management steps. These terms, to be quite honest with you, they're not very Agile friendly. So in retrospect, looking through this for a third time, it's not very well written, to be honest. The last domain, which I think is rather, I would say, unnecessary to add in this way, is the business analysis frameworks. Instead, this should have just been looked at as part of collecting requirements and part of working on an Agile project. I don't think there's any need to carve out a business analysis framework. I think what they're trying to say is a lot of project coordinators and people at the CAPM level are expected to have business analysis skills, but nonetheless, it hasn't changed from what it's always been. So I'm not a huge fan of this area. It's 4 areas for CAPM and just 3 for PMP. It just shows you that it's not really about the quantity of domains. This could have been put under a different domain. But anyway, the content in the domain is not bad. I just feel it could have been put somewhere else. So understanding business analysis roles, I believe that is relevant to a project coordinator. Determine how to conduct stakeholder communication, determine how to gather requirements. Again, this is, like I said, it's going more into scope. But some of the tools here, like user stories, use cases, those are rather agile, which is why I say it's something that could be talked about under the adaptive domain. Demonstrate and understand of roadmaps, determine how project methodologies influence business analysis processes, validate requirements through product delivery. You see what I mean? So if you are thinking of delaying your CAPM exam so that you can take the new exam, I really don't think that's a wise step. I think you should just get it over and done right now. And then in the future, if you want to move into PMP, just go ahead and do that. This syllabus is all over the place as far as could have been done better. I don't really see any advantage of taking the exam that is going to test you on the same stuff, but with a different configuration of how the breakdown of the exam is presented. And of course, there's a little bit more accentuation on adaptive methodologies, a little bit more accentuation than ever before on the specific roles of the business analyst. So if you looked at it in some way, you could say, well, there's almost like almost 50% of new content, because if the focus is truly on adaptive, you know, if they truly do what they're saying, not like the PMP where we hear it's only going to be 50% and then it ends up being much more, that the agile piece, right? Because PMI, they said the agile piece will be 50%. Well, a lot of people say it's a lot more. Hopefully that will not be the case on the CAPM. If they stick to what they're saying here, we could see anywhere from 20 to 47% more new content added to the CAPM. So for someone who's thinking of doing the new CAPM, I would say you might just want to go with the old and then just build a more solid understanding of Agile. You could go for the CSM exam, you could go for the PSM, you could eventually do ACP, but just get started on this and get it out of the way. You might as well, so that you can move on to other things instead of waiting for this one that is like, you don't really know where this is going. Exactly. Don't get me wrong, I like the topics in the syllabus, but I don't think they are exactly the best way to present the information, especially for beginners. So my 2 cents would be to do this one, but if you found yourself hanging around till October and you need to do the new one, I'll be more than happy to help you get through it. All right. If you're wondering which course to take for the current CAPM, just so you know, on our website, Praizion.com, go to Praizion.com, there is a course that you can jump on right now and get started for your CAPM as it is today. It's called PMP Exam Prep Camp. So you see it here, PMP/CAPM exam with Agile on-demand course. Just click on that and you'll be able to sign up. You'll get instant access everywhere from 1 month to 6 months. All right, so if that's you, I want to recommend that you jump on the wagon, sign up for the course, PMP Exam Prep Camp, and let's knock this one out, right? You can knock this one out, and then in the future, you can go for ACP, you can get one-on-one coaching for PSM, you could go for CSM training with the Scrum Alliance. Sky's the limit. All right, I hope this explains to you best steps to take for your CAPM exam advancement. Thank you, my friends. You take care. Bye for now.